think. All right, here we are at 45652 Pozo Park Drive, and we have the pleasure today to interview the owner, and I believe third generation owner of lot number 4, and it's Mr. Barry Wilson. And Barry, what I'd like to find out is a little bit about the history of your family up here at Pozo Park.
To go back just a little bit further than Pozo Park, my great-grandmother moved to Oildale from western Pennsylvania, where they had some contact with the oil industry there, and found that it was very warm in Oildale, and she went looking for a cooler place during the really hot period, and she found Pozo Park and purchased Lot 4 in 1921.
And Barry, what was her name?
Her name was Sarah Kelly Keister, and it was the Keister family. And shortly after buying the property, they constructed a wooden frame that they placed canvas over and cooked on the ground and spent the hot summers up here. Shortly after they started that, my mother and her sister would come up to be with their grandmother while the rest of the family was down in Oildale. Sarah lived until 1938, at which time my grandmother, Dorothy Keister McLaren, assumed ownership of the property. And she and her husband, Eugene, spent a great deal of time here. They lived in Long Beach, and they spent a great deal of time up here. And in fact, in the early 50s, they moved here and lived year-round for several years until my grandfather passed away. And my grandmother then would spend summers here for maybe 10, 15 years.
Well, who actually built the beautiful home here, the historic home, in my opinion, in Pozo Park?
My great-grandmother and her stepson, Frank, built the original cabin, which consisted of the kitchen and a bedroom. And that would have been in the maybe early 30s.
Okay, very good. Well, tell us a little bit about your family and the present day use of this home.
Well, it's an established family tradition now that when somebody has nothing better to do, they'll move up here for the summer. So, as I said, my grandmother did that, and then when she could no longer summer over up here, my mother started doing that, and she came up here summers for maybe another 10, 15 years. And she has since passed away, and
but excuse me, Barry, what is your mother's name, or what was your mother's name?
Her name was Barbara McLaren Wilson, and she loved this place dearly, and it was her anchor. And my wife and I started coming up here in the late 60s, and we would come during the winter months because there was nobody here. And it was trial and error. We learned how to live in the place. Took a while to learn how to turn the water on and how to drain it and all the winter activities, but we did learn it. And since then, my family, consisting of my wife, myself, my wife Kay, and our 2 daughters, Kathleen and Karen, came up here when we had a chance. And after they married, then the 6 of us would come up here, and then they had children, and now we consist of 10 10 folks if we all come at once. And also my sister, Gail Wilson Kenna, is also part owner. They live on the East Coast and can't come very often, but she and her husband Mike and their 2 daughters Michelle and Bonnie are also grounded here in Pozo Park.
Well, we're going to interview Gail here in a moment and have a little separate soliloquy, but tell us a little more about your family. I understand besides your daughters you have some famous sons-in-law and grandchildren. Let's hear them by name.
Well, Kathleen Wilson Scherter is married to Brett, and she has a son, Cody, who is in his first year at Franciscan University in Ohio, and a 10-year-old daughter, Katie, who lives in Pittsburgh with her parents. And then my other daughter, Karen Wilson DiEugenio, married to Jason, with sons Nick, Luke, and Frankie. And they live in Anaheim Hills, California, and come often up here with us, especially for the long weekends when they can get away.
Well, very good. We've certainly had some good times up here, particularly with beanbag toss contests and so on. Listen, I'm sure over the course of really almost 90 years, there have to be some real special memories. Can you recount maybe a couple of those for us?
Well, there's some good and bad. I guess the worst memories are of the period of the pine beetle when this place looked like a war zone, and we didn't think it would ever return to a pleasant, peaceful place, and of course it has, and we were just pessimists. And some of the better moments I think have occurred at Thanksgiving time, when we come up here and cook our turkey in the wood-burning stove and gather around the kitchen table and celebrate.
Okay, well, those are wonderful times, and I'm sure a lot of people up here at Pozo Park have had that kind of experience. Are there any memorable experiences or adventures that you've had while you've been here during that time?
In looking back at my time in Pozo Park, most of my memories are working here, but fortunately I enjoy that, and or else I probably wouldn't be coming. But teaching my grandsons to fish, long walks. We talk about the time we were walking upstream and came across a bloated cow down and near death, and we were not able to contact anybody to bring help for her, and she expired. But that's a memory that we often discuss, the bloated cow.
Well, how about, speaking of animals, how about any adventures with wild animals up here?
You know, we really haven't had. We, for a long time, had a resident bat that plagued us at night when we tried to step outside. And the ever-ending battle with mice and rats. My grandmother once chased a bear off by beating a spoon against a pot. She was, I don't think she ever reached 5 foot tall, tiny little woman, and she took after that bear beating her pot, and it turned and ran.
Well, that's good, and she was probably good at it. I'm going to step back here just a little ways and just pan and show you the scene that we're doing this interview in. It's late in September of 2014, and Barry is standing in front of their home on lot number 4. It's a beautiful place, and I want to give you a scene of the creek here because it truly is something. A nice scene downstream, and anyway, just a wonderful spot, just about like the rest of Pozo Park. Very nice. So, Barry, anything else you'd like to say for the good of the order while you've got the camera in front of you?
Well, I just feel that Pozo Park is a very special place, and it's a place that we're basically, it's our anchor. No matter where we move in the country, no matter what our journeys, Pozo Park is always here, and it's virtually always the same. And so it's our little spot that's an anchor to our families.
All right, thank you very much, Barry. Enjoyed it.